Hi there, my name is Michele Tarsilla and I'm an evaluation advisor and evaluation capacity development specialist. I've been working for USAID over the last few years, training a lot of you from the agency in many different missions around the world and also here in DC. And I had the chance to work on a variety of evaluations in many different countries in Africa and Latin America over the last 10 years. I see that mixed methods are becoming increasingly popular within the evaluation community and across a variety of international development agencies. What I'm really struck by is that at times the lack of a real understanding on why mixed methods should be used. So as a practitioner, I've been looking at a lot of statement of work in evaluation that really mention the use and call for the use of mixed methods, but it's not very clear and there's not enough precision of the rationale for doing it. So today in the course of my presentation I kind of try to emphasize three main points. The first one is that it's very important to understand whenever we propose or we suggest the use of mixed methods, first of all, why we are combining qualitative methods and qualitative methods. There are many different purposes. There are triangulation purposes, there are complementarity purposes, there are some expansion or instruments development purposes. These are just some examples. But at the same time, we need to understand when it's appropriate to combine methods. It's not just a matter of combining a case study and a survey, and then we could be really happy with our mixed methods evaluation. Sometimes there's a really big difference in using qualitative methods first, as opposed to using qualitative methods in the form, for example, of case studies to explore a little bit further some of the findings coming from a survey. So this is the first point, the first of the 3 points. The second point that I try to emphasize in the course of the presentation is that mixed methods is not just about combining data collection methods. And just going back to the example that I just mentioned, it's not just about having a case study preceding a survey or a survey followed by a case study. When we talk about mixed methods in evaluation, we talk about mixing many other different things. We talk about combining different ways of developing hypotheses for evaluation. We talk about combining different data analysis techniques. We have several types of different combination of data analysis combination. We could have data transformation. Some others include extreme case analysis and so on. So this is the second point. So the second message that I would like to convey today, that mixed methods is not just about data collection methods, but a plurality, a variety of other things. And then last but not least, there's a quote from my presentation that I particularly like, which is, mixed methods is a way to celebrating the equality of differences. And I think we're so used, especially at a time when there's a lot of funding for impact evaluation, to emphasize the relevance of numerical data and figures that are more quantitative in nature over qualitative data that are mostly associated with the anthropological kind of tradition of the ethnography efforts of research conducted in the past. I think that we should really force ourselves as development practitioners to get a little bit more used to open some kind of space and venue for dialogue with people representing different perspectives on international development and then what we already have. And I think the one concrete thing the USAID evaluation officers and planners or even implementing partners could do is just to tap into resources that are mostly associated with an arena of a certain type of research. They are not necessarily what we've been used in doing over the last few years. So when we talk about qualitative data resources, we could look at some statistical software packages. So we're so used to talking about SPSS, Stata, and R, which are typical quantitative statistical analysis softwares. But what about trying to learn a little bit more about the uses and also the possibilities of using in the field qualitative data analysis software packages as in vivo or a MaxQDA. And at the same time, I think it would be really powerful to start reading articles from journals that we're not necessarily familiar with. So if you're more of a quantitative or an impact evaluation specialist person with a background in economics, it would be very powerful to read a little bit more what's going on in the qualitative research community, and maybe read some articles from the Journal of Mixed Method Research. This is just an idea. At the same time, it would be very powerful for ethnographers, anthropologists, or sociologists that work in international development to become a little bit more familiar with websites, for example, not necessarily peer-reviewed journals. They're very much emphasizing on the use of quantitative methods in international development. I'm just thinking about the Poverty Action Lab from MIT website. I'm thinking from 3IE. And also, as a more common reference, being the chair of the International and Cross-Cultural Evaluation Topical Interest Group at the American Evaluation Association, I also think that consulting the American Evaluation Association's website, eval.org, would probably be a very good way of reconciling at times what I consider opposing interests or directions in what we do in international development and in evaluation more specifically.